At exactly 0231 hours on March 10, 2026, the master of the Thai bulk carrier Mayuree Naree transmitted the last coherent distress call anyone aboard that vessel would send. The ship was in the central channel of the Strait of Hormuz, 4.2 nautical miles off the coast of Oman, loaded with 42,000 metric tons of grain from Khalifa Port in the UAE. She was doing 12 knots. She had AIS running, navigation lights on, and every legal right to be exactly where she was. Then her hull touched something in the dark water that had no legal right to be there at all. The explosion did not come from above, it came from below, a shaped detonation wave that punched upward through the keel plating like a hydraulic fist, rupturing the engine room flooding bulkhead and igniting the forward fuel bunker in a single violent chain event. The Mayuree Naree broke her back in 38 seconds. She sank in under 4 minutes. Of her 22 crew, 14 were recovered alive. 8 were never found. The Strait of Hormuz had just become a minefield, and the world did not yet know it. This was not an accident. This was not a random act. What happened to the Mayuree Naree was the deliberate execution of a strategy that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy had been developing, practicing, and pre-positioning for 18 months. Since the first U.S.-Israeli strikes hit Iranian soil on February 28, 2026, the opening hours of what the Pentagon was calling Operation Epic Fury, IRGC naval commanders had been executing a classified contingency order designated MEKR-7. The systematic seeding of influence mines, contact mines, and bottom influence pressure mines across 5 specific transit corridors in the Strait of Hormuz. Not the kind of minefield you can see. Not the kind the Royal Navy swept in the Falklands. These were SADAF-series bottom mines, Iranian-manufactured moored influence mines derived from Russian EM-52 technology, equipped with magnetic, acoustic, and pressure fuse combinations that could differentiate between a military vessel and a commercial tanker and select their target accordingly. They were not laid randomly. They were laid with GPS precision from modified dhows operating under civilian AIS cover in the 72 hours before dawn on March 9th, while every eye in the Western intelligence apparatus was fixed on the air campaign over Tehran. The IRGC had studied every lesson of every minefield laid since World War II. They knew that to close the strait, you do not need to sink every ship. You only need to sink one. One ship burning in the main transit channel is enough to halt traffic for weeks. One ship is enough to spike oil prices $14 a barrel in a single trading session. One ship is enough to trigger the force majeure clauses that Qatar's energy minister had already publicly warned about on March 6th. The Mayuree Naree was not a target. She was a signal. Iran was telling the world, nothing passes through here unless we say so. IRGC Naval Commander Alireza Tangsiri confirmed it publicly within hours. Any ship wishing to transit the Strait of Hormuz must obtain approval from the Islamic Republic of Iran or face consequences. Those were not the words of a losing force. Those were the words of a commander who believed he had just placed a gun to the throat of the global economy and dared anyone to make him put it down. What Tangsiri did not know, what no one in the IRGC command structure knew, was that the U.S. Navy had been waiting for exactly this move, and the response was already in the water. Do you believe the U.S. Navy can sweep a minefield under fire, in darkness, while fighting a war? Comment 1 below. Because what happens in the next 94 minutes is something that no naval doctrine textbook had ever been asked to describe in real time. The USS Pioneer, MCM-3, an Avenger-class mine countermeasures vessel commissioned in 1992 and modernized in 2024 with the AN/AQS-24C towed sonar mine hunting system, had not arrived in the Strait of Hormuz by accident. She had been pre-deployed to a holding position 22 nautical miles southeast of Muscat on February 26th, 2 days before the first U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran, on the direct order of 5th Fleet Commander Vice Admiral Nathaniel Wells. The order was not announced. It appeared in no press briefing. The Pioneer's transit from Bahrain to her holding position was conducted under MCON, emissions control, all radar and active sonar systems secured, making her invisible to every surveillance asset Iran had pointed at the approaches to the strait. She carried a crew of 84 sailors, 2 MH-53E Sea Dragon helicopters from HM-15 Helicopter Mine Countermeasures Squadron, and a full Explosive Ordnance Disposal mobile unit team led by Master Chief Petty Officer Damian Reyes, a 22-year veteran of underwater mine clearance operations who had swept Iraqi harbor minefields in 2003 and who had never, in his career, encountered an adversary this sophisticated. Reyes was not worried about the mines themselves. He was worried about the IRGC speedboats that would come looking for his ship the moment she activated her sonar. At 02:44 hours, 13 minutes after the Mayuree Naree went down, Pioneer received the execute order from 5th Fleet via encrypted burst communication on ELF. The message was 4 words. MEKR-7, confirmed. Execute Triton. Operation Triton was the pre-planned U.S. Navy response to an Iranian mining of the strait, a compartmented plan that had existed since 2018, been updated 3 times, and had never been executed in combat. Its core concept was deceptively simple. You do not sweep a minefield with one ship. You sweep it with a layered system. Aerial detection from the MH-53E helicopters towing the AN/AQS-24C sonar sled at 30 knots. Surface confirmation from Pioneer's hull-mounted AN/SQQ-32 variable depth sonar, and underwater neutralization from EOD teams deploying Mk-18 Mod 2 Kingfish UUVs, autonomous underwater vehicles that could prosecute a single mine contact in under 6 minutes. The problem was that MEKR-7 had seeded 5 transit corridors. Pioneer was 1 ship. She had 2 helicopters. She had enough neutralization charges for 34 confirmed mines. If CNN's reporting that Iran had laid dozens of mines was an underestimate, if the actual number was in the hundreds, as the IRGC Forward Staging Depot intelligence suggested, Pioneer's resources would be exhausted before the main shipping channel was cleared. Simultaneously, at 02:51 hours, 2 U.S. Navy MH-60S Nighthawk helicopters from HSC-21 launched from the destroyer USS Sprung, operating 40 miles to the east. They were not mine-hunting helicopters. They were armed. Each carried 4 AGM-114R Hellfire Romeo missiles and an M1973 barrel 20mm cannon. Their mission was not to hunt mines. Their mission was to hunt the people who laid them. The intelligence picture, assembled over the previous 36 hours by NSA SIGINT intercepts and a classified human intelligence source inside the IRGC Navy's Bandar Abbas Command, had identified 3 Dow-class mine-laying vessels still operating in the Eastern Approach Corridor. These were not military ships. They were 40-foot wooden-hulled commercial fishing dhows, indistinguishable on radar from the hundreds of similar vessels that normally worked these waters. They were carrying SADAF-series mines in their holds, and their crews were racing to complete their assigned seeding pattern before dawn made them visible. At 03:04 hours, Nighthawk 1, call sign Reaper 11, acquired the first Dow on its FLIR thermal sensor at a range of 3.8 miles. The vessel was running without lights, heading northeast at 14 knots. There were 6 heat signatures on deck. The pilot, Lieutenant Commander James Park, confirmed the contact against the SIGINT geolocation data. The firing solution was already on his HUD. He did not fire immediately. He held. Because of the 8 people who did not come home from the Mayuree Naree. If he fired and missed, or if the intelligence was wrong, the geopolitical consequences would land on every sailor in the strait. He called 5th Fleet for release authority. He got it in 19 seconds. The first Hellfire left the rail at 03:05 hours and 41 seconds. It is 22 minutes into Operation Triton. The USS Pioneer has activated her AN/SQQ-32 sonar and is beginning her first sweep of the main traffic separation scheme. The MH-53E Sea Dragons are airborne, their AN/AQS-24C sleds in the water, painting the seabed with high-frequency sonar at 100-meter swath width. Master Chief Reyes is in the water, 200 feet below Pioneer's keel, guiding AMK-18 Mod 2 Kingfish UUV toward the first confirmed mine contact. A bottom mine resting at 38 meters depth on a sandy substrate, its pressure fuse passive and waiting. The UUV homes in using its acoustic guidance system, mates with the mine's hull, and places a shaped charge neutralization device against the casing. Rhea surfaces. The safety window opens. At 03:18 hours, the first mine is destroyed. The detonation column rises 40 feet above the surface, white water in the darkness. 11 miles away, an IRGC coastal radar station picks up the signature. They know the Americans are in the field, and they respond. From Bandar Abbas and from 3 forward staging positions on islands in the Eastern Gulf, the IRGC Navy launches its harassment response. Not missiles, not torpedoes. Swarm boats. 47 Ashura-class fast attack craft, each one a 16-meter fiberglass hull powered by twin 300-horsepower outboards, armed with 107mm rocket launchers, PKM machine guns, and rocket-propelled grenade systems. They are not fast enough to threaten a destroyer, but they are fast enough, at 55 knots, to reach Pioneer before the mine-clearing mission is complete. And Pioneer is not a destroyer. Pioneer has a 20mm cannon and 2.50 caliber machine gun mounts. She is not built to fight. She is built to listen to the bottom of the ocean. Master Chief Reyes, still wet from his last dive, receives the threat report on the tactical radio. He looks at his EOD team, 8 people in dry suits standing on Pioneer's afterdeck. He looks at the sonar display showing 11 more mine contacts in the next 2,000 meters of the channel. He makes a decision that will later be cited in every EOD training manual written after March 10, 2026. He puts his team back in the water. The Nighthawks are already moving. Reaper 11 and Reaper 12 intercept the leading edge of the swarm boat formation at 03:27 hours, 14 miles north of Pioneer's position. What follows is not a battle in the traditional sense. It is a systematic, high-speed engagement conducted at low altitude in darkness, the Nighthawks using their FLIR sensors to acquire and their Hellfire missiles to prosecute the lead boats while diving to gun range to suppress the formation's flanks with 20mm fire. The swarm disperses. 12 IRGC fast attack craft are destroyed. 9 turn back. 26 continue south. They will reach Pioneer's position in 19 minutes. Fifth Fleet does not have a surface combatant close enough to interpose in time. What it has is a Virginia-class nuclear attack submarine, USS Minnesota, SSN 783, which has been running silent 600 feet below the Gulf surface since February 27th. Minnesota's commanding officer, Commander Alexis Tran, receives the priority tasking from Fifth Fleet at 03:29 hours. She is not authorized to engage the surface swarm directly. The rules of engagement require a positive hostile act before a submarine may engage surface targets. But she can move. Minnesota rises to periscope depth, extends her photonic mast, and begins feeding targeting data from her surface search sensors directly into the Link 16 tactical data network. 2 FA-18E Super Hornets launched from the USS Abraham Lincoln, operating 180 miles south in the Gulf of Oman, receive the data link feed and begin their attack runs. They arrive overhead the swarm boat formation at 03:41 hours. At 03:42, they engage with AGM-65 Maverick air-to-surface missiles and 20mm strafing runs. Of the 26 remaining IRGC fast attack craft, 19 are destroyed or disabled. 7 turn north and run. None reach Pioneer. At 03:47 hours, 1 hour and 16 minutes after the Mayuree Naree sank, Master Chief Reyes surfaces from his 9th dive. His Mk-18 Kingfish UUV has prosecuted the 11th mine contact in the main traffic separation scheme. The primary commercial transit corridor through the Strait of Hormuz, 2,100 meters wide, 38 nautical miles long, has been swept and cleared of all detected bottom mines. The AN/AQS-24C aerial sonar, which has been running continuously since the operation began, has logged 34 mine contacts total. 34 mines have been neutralized. The channel is open. At 0412 hours, 5th Fleet broadcasts a NAVTEC safety notice to mariners. The main traffic separation scheme in the Strait of Hormuz is declared conditionally safe for transit. The first commercial vessel to pass through after the notice, a Panamanian-flagged LNG tanker carrying a cargo valued at $180 million, transits without incident at 0519 hours, guided by Pioneer sailing 800 meters ahead, still dragging her sonar sled, still listening. The oil market opened that morning down $4 a barrel from its war peak. Not because the war was over, because the strait was open. One corridor, cleared by 84 sailors, 2 helicopter crews, 8 EOD divers, and a machine called a Kingfish that nobody outside the U.S. Navy had ever heard of. But the intelligence assessment delivered to 5th Fleet at 0600 hours contained a number that no one had publicly disclosed. The IRGC forward staging analysis, updated with post-strike reconnaissance imagery from a classified overhead collection asset, estimated that the original MEKR-7 mining plan had called for the deployment of 340 mines across all 5 transit corridors. 34 had been found and neutralized in the main channel. The 4 secondary corridors, the inshore routes used by smaller vessels and tankers drawing less than 12 meters, had not yet been swept. The math was brutal. 306 mines potentially still in the water. Pioneer had enough neutralization charges remaining for 11 more. The strait was open, but it was not safe. And somewhere in the deep water south of Keshem Island, IRGC naval teams were loading the next wave. The world celebrated a $4 drop in oil prices. The U.S. Navy knew what the world did not. The fight for the Strait of Hormuz had not ended on March 10th. It had only just begun. And the most dangerous mines in the world are not the ones you have found. They are the ones you do not yet know are there. Do you believe the U.S. Navy can sustain a mine-clearing operation under fire for weeks against an adversary who can reload faster than you can sweep? Leave your assessment in the comments. The Strait of Hormuz is 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. The world's entire oil lifeline runs through those 21 miles. And right now, at this moment, 8 EOD divers are still in that water. They have not stopped. They will not stop. That is what the U.S. Navy does. It holds the line that the world depends on, in the dark, underwater, where no camera will ever follow.